Howdy, y'all. Today we're looking at Palantir Technologies again, and today's episode is all about the Q1 earnings for 2025, where Palantir has smashed every single record that they were setting, and they broke through all the way, and not just a little bit, they broke through big time. So first off, we'll look at how the stock ended up performing today. We ended up coming out, I would say, on top with how bad the market was trending in today, where the Nasdaq, the S&P, and the Dow ended up going down today. Palantir ended up being able to hold strong and break even, but in breaking even, they've been able to keep this resistance line, or at least if you look at it, you can definitely tell it's a resistance, where we ended up closing the day out today at 123.77. And beforehand, back in the past, on the day after we had our previous 52-week high, we ended up closing at 123.86, or at least that's where we ended up opening on this day right here. So just a couple of cents shy of where we were over here to be able to see where we're going to end up going right here. So we might end up with another breakout. So we'll just have to wait and see. And with all the amazing news that's come in with this Q1, it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up seeing a new 52-week high for Palantir at any point this week. But a lot of investors are not happy right now because of how well the Q1 earnings came in, and it didn't end up boosting the stock up even higher than what most people expected as soon as the news hit. Yet, a lot of the news didn't come in until after the bell was rung today. So tomorrow, having even more news and more things nailed down on what Palantir is planning on doing, and a lot more of the details that I'm about to share with y'all, might end up being able to bring the positivity back to those investors and to keep people from trying to short out the stock early on. So, but we'll go ahead and get into some of the great things that they've ended up doing for Q1. So they are ending up raising their 2025 sales guidance. So they set up for the year that they believed they were going to be able to make roughly 3.75 billion in sales is what they had estimated for. But now that Q1 is over, they're raising it from 3.75 billion all the way up to 3.89 to 3.9 billion dollars in sales. So that is a huge percentage hike, and with all the sales and all the contracts that they've been coming in, it doesn't surprise me at all that they were able to meet that goal and have definitely started surpassing it. So then next, we'll talk about their revenue stream. So they had a specific set for Q1 where they wanted to be able to make at least $862.2 million for a revenue during Q1, which they blew that one out of the water, where instead of 862, they ended up making 883.9. So that in itself is another great percentage increase as well, just not only for their sales, but with sales comes revenue. So they're definitely staying up and keeping track with what their goals were for Q1 of 2025. And it doesn't seem like they're going to end up slowing down either. So Q2 is going to be good as well. But then next, FactSet Analysis made a consensus of where they believe that Palantir's commercial revenue ended up coming out to be 255 million versus the consensus of 403 million. Now that's on the commercial side, but their government side is already at 373 million, where the consensus is going to end up coming in at 460 million. So on that side, Yeah, there's still a lot of things that are tied up and still a lot of money being held because, well, even though you get the contract, you don't get a check cut the same day. So, a lot of these things are going to end up coming with time for a lot of the deals that they've already made early on in this year. So, with that being said, even though they didn't quite tip that bar, they already did if you look at how the contract is in whole. And that's why the sales and the revenue is up. But with what they're saying between the commercial and the government side, the reason why those numbers don't necessarily match up to the consensus is because they don't have all of that money in hand yet. So, but once again, they had a different analysis from the CFRA, which they're typically the ones that most of your big, heavy investors, your Vanguard, your BlackRock, and all that, these are the people that are really shooting for hard summaries for the big ballers. And they ended up coming out and making a full summary on Palantir where it says that their revenue, which of course, as I said, was 883.9 million, exceeded for the company's guidance. So that ended up bringing it to where their commercial revenue, as I was saying earlier, ended up going up. It went up so high that it had surged 71% from last year Q1 to this year Q1. So that in itself is a huge gain. And the government revenue is 45% year over year, which was again to the 373 million. So, like I've always been saying, they have definitely stayed relevant and they are definitely going to stay in demand and be needed throughout, being the government and the commercial standpoint for everything that they're doing with their AI and software. So then now the company raised its full year revenue growth. So we're not just going to talk about Q1, we're going to talk about the whole year, where they're looking at 36% increase from 31% increase. So that ends up bringing up for reflecting the strong business momentum and deal activity, while also increasing its adjusted free cash flow outlook by $100 million to 1.6 billion, maybe even 1.8 billion. So with their operating margins going up that high, the percentages going up to where you're looking at going up 40, 50, even up to 70% in a lot of your revenue streams and all of your commercials, all of your government contracts, and everything that they're doing. It's all suggesting that they're broadening their customer engagement and they have an extremely strong execution despite this small market drop that we kind of seen. But that once again is also something that we had talked about as well on this channel pretty heavy, is that from our 52-week high right here is where they ended up started talking about the tariff deals with China, where we came in and had America's Liberation Day. We knew that that was going to end up bringing the market down, and the volatility brought it way down, where we knew we were going to see this hard bearish trend. We never knew how far it was going to go, but it didn't end up crashing as bad as what we had initially thought, because we had thought possibly that it was going to go down into the low 60s, maybe even hit 40 a share again and go back all the way back to October of last year's numbers. But we were able to stay strong, stay relevant, and we came back up until once again the market volatility dropped again hard whenever we were talking about for the Fed rates. But no matter what, all of this is now in the past, and we have had our bull run, baby. We have made a run all the way back up to where in such a short period of time, we have been able to cut out all of the market volatility and go right back to where we were not even 2 months ago, y'all. And this is something that you definitely don't get to see in a lot of the other stocks, and the points and the systems, along with your investing strategies, and also being able to look and see just how well this stock has performed day after day, week after week, even under the circumstances that may be, that's even above this stock in itself, that's creating these numbers down here. So, with that being said, definitely stay on with this stock. Gonna be holding for sure. I'm definitely not getting rid of anything because this stock doesn't seem like it's going anywhere but up. As always, this stock's been doing nothing but up. So I don't know if y'all have been able to see, I don't know how long y'all have been able to watch, but it doesn't take very much to be able to see that this stock, since way back into last year, has had a bullish run non-stop, except for what? This little bit here in the market volatility section. After Liberation Day all the way until today, that's the only dip that this stock has seen. Besides that, you can't see anything but green all the way. So, well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you liked it, leave me a like. If there's a specific stock that you like to have and that you hold in your portfolio, drop it down in the comments below. I'd love to be able to check out another stock and be able to share it with all the rest of the viewers. So, until next time, this is the Stock Warden riding off. See y'all come back now, you hear?